Financial Secretary John Jung said he has heard the voice of the middle class and understands their wish for the government to ease their tax burden. In his final budget address, he proposes cutting salaries tax for 2011-12 by 75%, up to a ceiling of $12,000. The move would benefit 1.5 million taxpayers and cost the government $8.9 billion. Other tax measure proposals include raising the basic allowance and the single-parent allowance from $108,000 to $120,000 and increasing the married person's allowance from $216,000 to $240,000. This would benefit 1.38 million taxpayers and cost the government $2.2 million a year. There's more. He also proposes increasing the allowance for maintaining a dependent parent or grandparent. For those aged 60 or above, it would rise to $38,000. For those aged 55 to 59, it would rise to $19,000. For dependents living in a care home, the deduction ceiling for elderly residential care expenses will be raised to $76,000. He recommends raising the child allowance from $60,000 to $63,000. Allowances for raising dependent brothers, sisters, and disabled dependents will also be increased. The entitlement period for the tax deduction for home loan interest would rise from 10 years of assessment to 15. The deduction ceiling of $100,000 a year would be kept. Mr. Jung would also like to increase the maximum annual tax deductions for mandatory contributions to mandatory provident fund schemes to $15,000. He outlined proposed relief measures to help ease the pressure on the community from an economic downturn. These include waiving rates for 2012-13, subject to a ceiling of $2,500 a quarter for each rateable property. Estimates are that 90% of properties will be subject to no rates in the year. Each residential electricity account would be granted a subsidy of $1,800. This means about 20% of households need not pay the bill for a year. Public housing tenants would get 2 months free rent, while recipients of comprehensive Social Security assistance, old age allowance, and disability allowance would get an extra month's allowance. If it is necessary, there is another $100 million earmarked for short-term food assistance services. What's more, all student loan recipients who complete their studies this year would have the option to start repaying the loans 1 year after completing their studies.